The genius who exposed Konoha's dark secret. Please subscribe. Episode 31. Hatake Sakumo. Within the Uchiha clan, there was a training ground surrounded by trees and rivers. The elderly Uchiha Sora, with his white hair, stood outside the arena, leaning on a cane, and watched the intense battle unfolding within. 10-year-old Uchiha Ruri, her black hair fluttering, swiftly threw her shuriken at the opposing Uchiha Jonin, Uchiha Rindo, with lightning speed. Uchiha Rindo, who was about 25 or 26 years old, bore a scar on his face, which added a touch of fierceness to his appearance. Activating his three-tomo Sharingan, he quickly spotted the incoming shuriken and skillfully deflected it with a wave of his hand. However, the shuriken possessed tremendous power. Upon being deflected, the force acted upon Rindo's body, momentarily freezing him. What power? Rindo's eyes filled with gravity. Rindo sensed that there was a hidden technique imbued within Ruri's shuriken. If blocked by a weapon, this dark energy would bypass the weapon and affect the enemy's body, causing temporary rigidity. The duration of this stiffness depended on the physical prowess of the individual. If this had happened to a Jonin, they would have been immobilized for several seconds. By the time the next round of shuriken came flying, they would surely be left riddled with holes. Even Rindo, a strong Jonin, experienced stiffness, although it was negligible. Taking advantage of this brief opening, Ruri swiftly performed hand seals. Fire release, Great Fire Dragon Jutsu. A colossal dragon-shaped entity, measuring 4 to 5 meters in length, materialized. Composed of scorching flames, it possessed a terrifying impact and could reduce enemies to ashes. Boom! The ground erupted as the dragon exploded, leaving behind a massive crater. Rindo with his shunrin managed to evade the attack, but his hair was singed, and his appearance was slightly disheveled. His three-tomo Sharingan spun, and he swiftly retaliated by waving a kunai. Ding! Despite Ruri's smaller stature compared to Rindo, he intercepted the kunai attack and blocked it. In that moment, their Sharingan locked onto each other, releasing their ocular powers simultaneously. Upon releasing their ocular powers, Rindo experienced a sharp pain and momentary fatigue in his eyes, prompting him to quickly retreat. Gasping for breath, he gazed at Ruri, his opponent. Ruri's Sharingan level was still at the two-tomo stage. Although Ruri also panted, their breaths were significantly less labored than Rindo's. What baffled him the most was that Ruri, being only 10 years old and possessing two-tomo Sharingan, fearlessly challenged his three-tomo Sharingan head-on. It was truly inconceivable that his illusions failed to gain control over the young girl. The combined elements of speed, neural responses, dynamic vision, strength, ninjutsu usage, and ocular powers made it extremely challenging, even for a Jonin like himself. His sole advantage lay in his greater chakra reserves compared to Ruri. If Ruri's chakra were depleted, victory would be his. With a faint sigh, Rindo couldn't help but feel that winning against a young girl seemed impossible. But being defeated by her would be even more humiliating. Therefore, the next step was to continue fighting, gradually draining Ruri's chakra. Recognizing Rindo's intentions, Ruri reached into her ninja pouch and retrieved Shiraishi's special military ration pill. Just as she was about to consume it, Uchiha Sora, who had been observing the battle, intervened and shouted. "Alright, stop, Ruri." Ruri returned the pill to her ninja bag and performed a reconciliation seal towards Rindo. In response, Rindo also made a sign of reconciliation towards Ruri. Truly remarkable, Ruri. Even an average Jonin would struggle against your current strength. After completing the seal of reconciliation, Rindo stepped forward and praised Ruri without hesitation. The appearance of such a powerful and excellent genius within the clan was truly gratifying. As expected of a genius from the Uchiha clan. Ruri nodded. The strength she possessed at the moment was a result of her efforts and talent, but she couldn't ignore Shiraishi's contribution. If it weren't for the new medicine he developed, which improved physical abilities using natural energy, she wouldn't have grown so quickly. As this thought crossed her mind, a hint of tenderness appeared in her usually indifferent eyes, and a faint smile graced her lips. In Rindo's eyes, the smile on Ruri's face stemmed from the genuine praise of a fellow Hunin. At that moment, Elder Sora entered the training ground. In his 60s, he was already a senior ninja. Even in retirement, he would give his all for the family and cultivate a Uchiha ninja who could rival the Senju family. Elder Sora. Ruri slightly bowed, as this elder had taught her about karma in the past. Ruri had already paved her own path and no longer required the teachings of the Sora elders, but she still held respect and gratitude for the old man who had worked tirelessly for the family. Ruri, while you train diligently, don't forget to relax. Training should be done in a relaxed manner. In Elder Sora's eyes, Ruri must have dedicated most of her time to training, allowing her to quickly reach a near tie with Rindo. He hoped that Ruri would find time to relax during her training. He didn't want the genius within Ruri to be prematurely exhausted. Ruri's importance exceeded that of the other Uchiha successor, Uchiha Fugaku. If anyone within the Uchiha clan could recreate the glory of the Manjikyu Sharingan, Elder Sora believed it would be Ruri. I understand, Elder Sora. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Wait a moment. This scroll contains the B-level fire release jutsu. Take it with you and study it. With your current strength, you can already learn high-level fire release jutsus. It was left behind by that individual. Elder Sora spoke with meaningful intent. Ruri was taken aback. That individual referred to Madara Uchiha, the ghost of the Uchiha clan. The ninja who had departed from his family and village. Within the Uchiha clan today, very few would directly mention Uchiha Madara's name. Instead, they would use that individual as a proxy. Ruri accepted the fire release scroll given by Elder Sora, expressed her gratitude once more, and quickly made her way back home. Ruri keeps getting stronger. I used to be able to easily outperform her 2 years ago. The power of her 2-Tomo Sharingan puts pressure on my 3-Tomo Sharingan. It's incredible. What did you do? How did you make her so strong? After Ruri left, Rindo couldn't help but praise the guidance of the Elder Sora. Elder Sora shook his head and smiled, saying, Rindo, don't you understand? The power of the Sharingan varies from person to person. The number of Tomo can serve as a reference, but cannot solely determine the strength of the eyes. Besides, Ruri worked hard to achieve what she has. My role was merely to enhance her abilities. Rindo held back a sigh. Why couldn't he understand this? Merely thinking that a 10-year-old girl could surpass him completely within a few years was an unpleasant feeling. After all, he was young and hailed as Uchiha's genius ninja. Rindo, you are also an elite jonin nurtured by your family. Have confidence in yourself. Elder, it's not that I lack confidence in myself. It's just that the younger generation these days is so capable. But I'm really curious about which jonin will lead Ruri's team when she graduates, and how the Hokage will arrange things. Rindo didn't believe that there wouldn't be backup plans for a genius Uchiha like Ruri. He was very interested in the kind of team leader the third Hokage would assign to Ruri. If the strength of the team leader was low, it was highly likely that Ruri would rebel and the jonin will become a laughingstock among jonins. As for a powerful jonin, to Rindo's knowledge, even the Sannin would fall a bit short. Hatake Sakumo. Elder Sora uttered the name. Rindo trembled, cold sweat forming on his face, as he looked at Elder Sora in disbelief. That name seemed to possess an immense and terrifying power, even causing the experienced jonin Rindo to feel a deep sense of reverence. Hey, Elder, are you joking? That man is. Only in this way can the third Hokage and I trust each other. The third Hokage needed the Uchiha clan to contribute their fighting power in the ongoing war. And the Uchiha clan needed a strong jonin to lead them, not only to convince Ruri, but also to nurture her extraordinary talent. That was the message conveyed by Elder Sora. Episode 32. Internships and Private Funding. Fire Release, Majestic Demolisher. Fire Release, Great Fire Destruction. These are the 2 advanced fire ninjutsu that Uchiha Sora entrusted to Ruri, reaching the B rank level. These are the only ways for her to come into contact with higher level ninjutsu, although she may not be able to use them skillfully. After reading the instructions, Ruri realized that mastering these 2 B rank fire release ninjutsu requires a significant amount of chakra for each ninjutsu in order to execute them smoothly and maximize their power. Since these are high-level ninjutsu, even Ruri, who is skilled in manipulating fire attribute chakra, couldn't master all 3 fire ninjutsu in a short period of time. Fortunately, she is still in 5th grade and has over a year left before graduating from 6th grade. She should have no problem mastering the 2 advanced fire release ninjutsu within that time. The most crucial part is how to enhance her chakra capacity. Without enough chakra, even if she learned these 2 high-level fire ninjutsu, she would only be able to use them in critical situations. Therefore, Ruri directly approached Shiraishi and expressed her desire to increase her chakra capacity. Shiraishi, who was sitting in the lab drinking tea, wore a concerned expression upon hearing Ruri's request. Enhancing chakra capacity poses more challenges than improving physical fitness. Shiraishi himself has perfect control over chakra, so there is minimal wastage. Even with a moderate amount of chakra, he has enough to utilize. Ninjas can easily dodge a shuriken or kunai using their agility. Shiraishi doesn't seek to increase the power of ninjutsu deliberately. Currently, Shiraishi doesn't have a strong need for more chakra and focuses on cultivating his physical fitness. Lately, he has dedicated most of his time to studying the application of natural energy, incorporating it into medical practices, and developing new types of medicine. I will do my best, but it will take some time. I have other tasks at hand, Shiraishi assured Ruri. Upon hearing Shiraishi's response, Ruri nodded without pressuring him. It would be great if he could accomplish it, but she has nothing to lose if he can't. Her body has not yet entered a period of rapid growth. Chakra will definitely not be a problem as she grows older, but she desires to have as much as possible. So, does that mean your strength is already on par with the Jonin in the clan? Shiraishi asked, holding a bottle containing solidified white, slightly transparent particles. He opened the lid, used tweezers to take out a solid particle, and placed it on a small iron stand. This solid particle had also been infused with natural energy, but the amount of infusion was negligible, almost insignificant. I don't have enough chakra for a prolonged battle against a Chunin, so my chances of winning are less than 20%, Ruri recalled her previous battle and made an accurate assessment. That's already impressive. After all, your Uchiha Jonin chakra is higher than the average Jonin. The reason you lost to him is due to your physical limitations and age, Shiraishi replied, implying that Ruri's current strength is no worse than an ordinary Jonin. At least when she has sufficient chakra, the difference between her and a Chunin is minimal. By the time she graduates from 6th grade, it is almost certain that her strength will reach Jonin level. The reason Ruri has become so powerful is closely linked to natural energy. It was evident that natural energy, including further chakra, plays a significant role in promoting a ninja's growth. Although there are side effects, Shiraishi contemplated that many things in life have side effects. The food people consume often contains traces of toxins, and drinking cold water introduces numerous bacteria. The human immune system cannot be overestimated, but it also cannot be underestimated. Side effects are not necessarily dangerous. After chatting for a while, Ruri left, perhaps to practice or take a bath. He forgot that there's a small outdoor bathhouse in the backyard of Ruri's house, but unfortunately, it has a partition in the middle. He believed that this separation is the original sin that prevented humans from truly seeing each other and has been deeply rooted in society. Setting aside all distracting thoughts, he settled down to focus on his research. He had no urgency to improve his own abilities, because no matter how much he enhanced his strength, his physical limitations and age would remain. The study of natural energy was different. If one day he could completely master it and extract Senjutsu chakra perfectly, his strength would experience a tremendous surge. He had only scratched the surface of the truth behind natural energy, allowing Ruri to possess the strength to fight against a Jonin at her age. While Ruri's talent and the Sharingan's abilities played a role, the impact of natural energy was undeniable. By that time, even if he left Konoha, he would be able to live comfortably in the ninja world. Therefore, Shiraishi began to calculate various plans and make early preparations for his future life. Currently, he was not only developing physical enhancement medicines, but also cold medicines, hemostatic medicines, stamina recovery medicines, and more. In summary, the medicines developed using natural energy were diverse and peculiar. However, in terms of effectiveness, they surpassed similar drugs available on the market, and some were even potent specialized medications not found elsewhere. If these medicines were to be released on the market now, they would undoubtedly cause a commotion and unnecessary trouble. When he eventually left Konoha, Shiraishi planned to leave some of the medicinal formulas behind as a token of gratitude for his upbringing and the connections he had forged over the years. Konoha could use these medicines to conveniently and effectively treat patients within the village, or they could be sold to other countries, yielding substantial profits. The profits from drugs were always substantial, especially when they had potential military applications. Ultimately, it would be up to Konoha to decide what to do with them. Whether they were used for commercial purposes or kept for themselves, invested in medical and military fields, or used in all three areas, he would not interfere. This way, when he left, he wouldn't feel indebted and could calmly part ways with Konoha. To be honest, Shiraishi didn't harbor any animosity toward the Will of Fire, but philosophy and personal beliefs were completely incompatible, and forcibly intertwining them would only lead to suffering for both. For him, Konoha was merely an episode of his life, not where his heart belonged. Therefore, Shiraishi neither despised the Will of Fire nor lied about his lack of fondness for it. In Konoha, there is no sense of oppression brought about by the war. The adults choose to shoulder the burden themselves, creating a seemingly peaceful paradise for the young children and protecting them from the harsh realities of the world. Over the past few years in Konoha, Shiraishi's perspective on things has gradually changed. He now has a deeper intuitive understanding of the people, systems, values, ideals, and political styles present here. Despite its imperfections and occasional bad habits, Konoha is, overall, a relatively peaceful village. Especially when standing on the Hokage Rock and gazing at the entire expanse of Konoha, one is struck by its prosperity and size. It's hard to believe that this is just a village. school days continue to be quiet and peaceful. If it weren't for occasional wounded individuals returning from the front lines, one could easily forget that a war is even taking place. As an intern in the first medical ninja class, Shiraishi has begun his formal internship at the hospital. Typically, internships for medical ninjas involve tasks such as carrying items and, if lucky, bandaging wounds for the injured. Shiraishi's assigned duties include inspecting medicines, maintaining medical equipment, and occasionally assisting experienced medical ninjas in preparing new medicines or purifying herbs. Thus, 5th grade passes smoothly for Shiraishi. By the time he entered the 6th grade, he was 11 years old and has already been interning at the hospital for over 6 months. The team leader of his group is a medical ninja with 10 years of experience in the hospital. Seeing that Shiraishi has a solid foundation of knowledge and is careful and conscientious, the leader entrusted him with tasks such as equipment maintenance and even the more complex process of herb purification. Given Shiraishi's knowledge, these tasks are not overly difficult, aside from being tedious. However, he felt frustrated about the hospital's tendency to overwork and oppressive child labor. He understood that there was shortage of manpower, not only at the hospital, but also on the front lines. However, this means that he would only attend the academy in the morning and spend the rest of the day, from noon to 7 o'clock in the evening, constantly busy at the hospital. Furthermore, the team leader deducted half of Shiraishi's salary to cover the cost of education and guidance, which wasn't much to begin with. Relying solely on the salary earned from the hospital, Shiraishi doubted if it would even provide for his basic needs. After all, he came from a poor background, and Ruri covered his daily expenses and research funds. Looking back, Shiraishi realized that his decision to rely on Ruri's support was wise. Even ninjas need to eat. Hence, the salary he earned at the hospital was kept as his private money, stashed away in his wallet. At this moment, Shiraishi felt that Ruri's eyes are more like a blessing than the all-seeing Byakugan. The thought of accumulating hundreds of thousands of ryo as private money and having the freedom to use it after graduating from the academy filled him with joy. Episode 33. Graduation. Konoha, Year 36, February. The war between Konoha and Suna had been ongoing for 2 years and showed no signs of ending. The number of ninjas mobilized on both sides continued to increase, and the constant transportation of medicines and supplies to the front lines indicated that the war was far from over. Shiraishi's classmates who hadn't chosen to skip grades were already 6th grade graduates. In March, there would be a school graduation assessment, and those who passed would become official genin of Konoha. However, Shiraishi believed that the graduation assessment was merely a formality. The teachers already knew which students would graduate and who would need to repeat a grade. With the front lines in need of new troops, Shiraishi and others like him were required to gain battlefield experience to excel in their respective fields in the future. Currently, his routine consisted of attending the academy in the morning, interning at the hospital in the afternoon, and conducting research in the evening. Graduation was inevitable, so there was no need to rush or wait longer. Everything would fall into place as it should. Nearly a month had passed without much noise, and it was now the morning of graduation. The weather was bright, birds chirped in the empty courtyard, and the maids diligently prepared for the day ahead. Unlike Shiraishi, who had lived comfortably for years, these maids were hardworking and capable. To ensure the students were in good condition for the graduation test, there was no need to arrive at school too early. Shiraishi woke up at 7 in the morning and felt that life might not be as peaceful after today. A few days ago, he had halted his research and stored the large-scale equipment in a safe and secret location with the help of the ninja cat summoned by Ruri. He only took the scrolls containing the research results, which he deemed most valuable and reassuring. After having breakfast with Ruri, they made their way to the school. Once inside the designated exam room, some students appeared nervous, while others seemed relaxed. For most, the graduation exam was not particularly challenging. Shiraishi's examination room was supervised by the head teacher, Fujimura Taiga. As Shiraishi looked at Fujimura-sensei, who was still unmarried after 6 years, he couldn't help but sigh. The graduation exam will test the 3-body technique. As long as you meet the standard in 2 of the 3 techniques, there's no need for much explanation. Just take your seats one by one. With that, Fujimura Taiga walked into the empty classroom next door, accompanied by 2 Chunin examiners. Following the seating order, each student's name was called, and they proceeded to the adjacent classroom to take the 3-body jutsu assessment, a basic ninjutsu they had been exposed to for 6 years. In theory, it was impossible for anyone to fail this extremely simple exam. In the hushed atmosphere, it was finally Shiraishi's turn. The 3-body techniques was not challenging, and only 2 of the 3 techniques needed to meet the standard to pass and receive the Konoha forehead protector. Shiraishi stood at the center of the examination room, formed seals with his hands, and focused on performing the 3-body technique. Congratulations, Chiba-san, you have passed. All of Shiraishi's techniques met the standard, as Fujimura Taiga had expected. Shiraishi was one of the few students in the class with a solid foundation. As long as he followed the usual rhythm, passing the graduation exam was a mere formality. Thank you, Fujimura-sensei. Shiraishi bowed slightly to express his gratitude. Receiving the Konoha forehead protector from Fujimura Taiga meant that Shiraishi was now officially a qualified Konoha ninja. At least, that's what others would think. The graduation exam concluded in a subdued atmosphere. With nothing else to do the next day, they just had to wait for the assignment to their new teams tomorrow morning. I wonder who will be the team leader tomorrow? I heard that only outstanding students get special jonin as their teachers after graduation. For someone like me, the team leader will probably be a regular jonin, Shiraishi speculated on his way back. You'll be in a team with me, Ruri suddenly said. Huh? Shiraishi looked at Ruri in surprise. Why the surprised expression? Do you have an issue being in a team with me? Oh, no, I just wasn't informed about this, Shiraishi replied. That's because I didn't think I needed to ask for your opinion, and your input wouldn't matter anyway. But since you brought it up, I'll tell you a little about it. Ruri explained truthfully, which was quite shocking to hear. However, Shiraishi didn't let such trivial matters bother him. In that case, our team leader will likely be a very powerful jonin. Shiraishi had a clear understanding of Ruri's strength. At almost 12 years old, she was as strong as an ordinary jonin. Combined with her strong personality, a regular jonin might not be able to handle her, leading to potential issues within the team. If they were on the same team, then their team leader would undoubtedly be no ordinary jonin. The clan only told me that the leader would be a very powerful jonin, but they didn't reveal the name. I guess we'll find out whether it's unfortunate or lucky soon enough. An exceptional team leader can enhance the efficiency of a team's mission execution and greatly improve the survival rate. However, on the contrary, the stronger the team leader, the more likely their true strength will be exposed. Good and bad are always relative. At that time, you just need to utilize your medical ninjutsu skills. Exactly. It's only logical to include a medical ninja in the team, considering the village's setup. The jonin teams that perform tasks more efficiently will naturally benefit the most from having medical ninjas. Thinking about it this way, it made sense that he was assigned to join Ruri. Due to the scarcity of medical ninjas, even though the village had a perfect team arrangement that included them, the supply was limited, so only a select few elite teams were qualified to have medical ninjas. His displayed strength was remarkable, and as a medical ninja, his importance was on par with that of an ordinary chunin. It wasn't surprising that he was assigned to an elite group. The next morning, the students who had successfully graduated and received their forehead protectors gathered in their respective classes for the final team placement meeting. Fujimura Taiga, standing in front of the podium, spoke in a voice that carried throughout the classroom. First of all, congratulations to all of you. From the moment you received your forehead protectors, you are ninjas in your own right. However, as there is an ongoing war outside, being a ninja is not just a reason to celebrate. You are all rookies now. Remember, don't bring a game mentality to the battlefield, it could cost you your life. Unlike his usual self, Fujimura Taiga's face was serious, and his eyes showed concern and intolerance. His words stunned the usually lively and active students. Though they might have wanted to crack a few jokes to lighten the mood, they saw the seriousness and coldness in Fujimura Taiga's expression, which made them swallow their words and sit quietly in their seats. Fujimura Taiga realized that his words might have been too heavy, but he preferred to portray the way of the ninja as harsh and unforgiving rather than seeing them die with naive ideals. Fujimura Taiga then conducted a roll call to form groups of 3. Soon, Shiraishi learned which group he was in. Team 5, Uchiha Ruri, Hyuga Iane, Chiba Shiraishi. You are a team. As Fujimura Taiga continued to name the students, Shiraishi and the others exchanged glances, as if they were re-evaluating their future teammates. This is great luck. Please guide me in the future, Shiraishi-kun, Ruri-san Iane said, wearing a white ninja kimono, her long black hair cascading softly on her shoulders, and her white pupils displaying a distant yet polite smile. As long as you don't drag me down, Ruri added, showing no dissatisfaction with being in a group with Iane. In fact, she saw it as the perfect match. She paid attention to Iane, considering they both shared the inheritance of blood, and Bai Yen was more versatile than Shirinyan in many cases. By the way, this guy is quite weak and has nothing to offer except medical ninjutsu. You need to be mentally prepared, Ruri bluntly belittled Shiraishi's combat abilities. I understand. It's a common perception that most medical ninjas are weak, deeply rooted in people's minds. Leave the battle to me and you, Ruri Ain replied, her meaning clear that Shiraishi was in charge of medical duties while the two of them handled the combat. Though it sounded reasonable, Shiraishi couldn't help but feel a subtle sense of comparison in Ain's tone. Was it just his imagination? Leaving that aside, there was something else that made Shiraishi feel oddly excited. A team composed of Byakugan, Sharingan, medical ninjas, and a powerful Jonin. This team didn't seem to be meant for ordinary tasks. Episode 34. Konoha's White Fang. On the rooftop of the academy, a man in his mid to late 20s, dressed in a Jonin uniform, with long silver white hair, a red triangle armband on his left shoulder, and a short chakra sword strapped to his back, sits at the edge of the rooftop railing. His hands are casually spread out, and a bright, confident smile adorns his face, making him approachable. At first glance, he appears to be an ordinary person, lacking the typical spirit of a shinobi. I'm Hatake Sakumo. From today onwards, I'm your guide, Jonin. I'm good at using chakra swords. That's about it. Because we will form a team of 4 next, I think it's better for us to get to know each other. After Sakumo introduced himself, Shiraishi took the lead in sharing. I'm Chiba Shiraishi. I'm not particularly skilled in taijutsu or genjutsu. The only ninjutsu I specialize in is medical ninjutsu. That's about it. I'm Hyuga Ain. I possess the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan and am skilled in the gentle fist, which complements the Byakugan. Uchiha Ruri, adept at using shuriken jutsu and fire release. They briefly explained their areas of expertise, with Ain and Shiraishi having the most prestigious bloodline inheritances in Konoha. Sakumo nods with satisfaction. Although Sakumo has experience leading teams before, leading this particular team feels different. A medical ninja, a Byakugan user, and a Sharingan user, this combination could be considered a near-perfect team formation. Sakumo could already sense the weight of responsibility that lies ahead. Just as Sakumo was about to speak, Ruri unexpectedly ignited into flames and swiftly charges towards Sakumo with a kunai, relentlessly aiming for his body. Ruri! Shiraishi and Ain shout from behind. But Ruri shows no signs of stopping. However, in the next moment, everyone was left dumbfounded with what happened next. Suddenly, Sakumo was standing behind Ruri, restraining her head with his broad palm while bending her hand holding the kunai behind her back, rendering her immobile. Not only Shiraishi and Ain were deeply surprised, even Ruri herself was stunned, struggling to comprehend how Sakumo not only perfectly evaded her genjutsu but also subdued her from behind without her noticing. Sakumo's body flicker technique was so swift that even her Sharingan failed to capture it. Well, can we continue with my introduction now? Sakumo asked, releasing Ruri. The smile on his face remained gentle, and he shows no sign of anger towards Ruri's sudden outburst. Ruri sheathed her kunai, her aura receded, and she spoke in a serious tone. As expected of the ninja known as the White Fang. If you're our captain, I have no objections. Through this brief encounter, Ruri realized the vast gap between her own abilities and Sakumo's, and she acknowledged his strength. It seems that our team will get along well in the future, Sakumo concluded after hearing Ruri's words. Ruri returned to her spot, causing Shiraishi and Ain to breathe a sigh of relief. It's only natural for them to worry. The man in front of them, Hatake Sakumo, a Jonin of Konoha, renowned as the White Fang in the world. Even Sannin-level shinobi would pale in comparison to him. Calling him the strongest of Konoha's Umbu isn't an exaggeration. And witnessing Sakumo's ability to subdue Ruri, Shiraishi and Ain can't help but feel that his true strength was unfathomable. Well, Sakumo-sensei, I heard that Captain used survival drills to assess the newly graduated genin. Sensing the slightly subdued atmosphere, Shiraishi took the initiative to bring up the topic of survival drills. No need for that. I am very satisfied with the abilities of the 3 of you. There's nothing more to add, you have all passed, Sakumo casually announced. Shiraishi inwardly wondered if he should be so nonchalant. After all, this is the renowned White Fang. He had anticipated a rigorous and serious survival exercise, but Sakumo's casual judgment caught him off guard. In that case, what should we do now? Shiraishi asks. Sakumo stroked his chin, looked up at the sky, and suddenly smiled. It's almost noon. How about we go for a barbecue together? Consider it the treat of your sensei. Ain's eyes lit up at the suggestion. Shiraishi and Ruri felt a wave of nostalgia wash over them. Sakumo-sensei, I think it's better if we each pay our own share. Why? Worried about your teacher's wallet? Don't worry, just eat. Your sensei's wallet can handle it, Sakumo said with determination to treat them to the barbecue. Shiraishi let out a sigh, realizing that Sakumo was determined, and pondered about the consequences. Sakumo-sensei, whatever happens next, please remain calm and don't get too excited. After Shiraishi spoke those words, Sakumo looked at him with a puzzled expression. An hour and a half later, at the barbecue restaurant, the owner smiled and extended his hand to Sakumo, expecting payment. Thank you for eating here. The total comes to 300,000 ryo, after deducting the discount. A price that almost broke Sakumo's heart. Sakumo turned around with a smile on his face, glanced at Ayane, who appeared calm and composed, and then his gaze at the hundreds of empty plates stacked behind her, showing that she devoured almost everything. Finally, he understood what Shiraishi had warned him about earlier. Well, Ayane, were you mistakenly swapped with someone from the Akimichi clan when you were born? Are you actually from the Akimichi clan? Sakumo joked. Sakumo-sensei, you love making jokes. Just by looking at my eyes, you can tell that I am a pure-blooded Hyuga, Ayane responded, blinking her pure white eyes. This revelation left Sakumo feeling perplexed. He couldn't recall the Hyuga clan having such a voracious appetite. No, even among same-aged Akimichi clan members, few would have such a massive appetite. Shaking his head, Sakumo reluctantly reached for his wallet to pay. However, he suddenly froze, awkwardly standing there. What's the matter, Sakumo-sensei? Well, can you wait here for a moment? It seems I don't have enough money in my wallet. I'll quickly go home and get it. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Shiraishi and the others. Before Sakumo could rush home to fetch the money, Ruri, relieved by the turn of events, took out her wallet from her pocket and slaps 30 brand new bills on the counter. It seems the legendary Konoha White Fang is not all that special. Ruri had been brooding over her previous defeat at Sakumo's hands, but now she finally seized the opportunity to turn the tables. Not special at all. Really nothing extraordinary. Shiraishi and Ayane chime in, one after the other. I told you 3. Sakumo chuckled wryly, realizing that he doesn't have enough money. Was he really worth tormenting like this? Episode 35. First mission. In the morning, Ayane playfully interacted with a caged bird in the corridor, a gentle smile gracing her fair and pristine face. At the other end of the corridor, Hayashi, who had already finished getting ready, witnessed this scene. The beautiful image froze in his mind, leaving him momentarily captivated. At that time, Hayashi never imagined that Ayane would remain by his side and become his maid. Good morning, Hayashi-sama, Ayane greeted calmly, rising from her place, no longer teasing the caged bird. Her smile was warm and respectful, reflecting all the beauty in the world in her pure white eyes. Every time Hayashi saw Ayane's eyes like this, he couldn't help but question deep within. Has she accepted her fate of separation? Does she genuinely submit to the main family? There was no trace of resentment or animosity in her eyes. It seemed that years of companionship had allowed her to let go of her prejudice against the main family. Good morning, Ayane, Hayashi responded. He wasn't intentionally aloof, but neither he nor Ayane fully understood this about themselves. However, it is precisely because of his gentle nature that Hayashi inadvertently exudes a serious and cruel image. His gentleness may prove disastrous for the Hyuga clan and may cause harm to others. His tenderness had once wounded his younger brother, Hisashi, and he didn't want Ayane, his maid who had been faithfully by his side for many years, to suffer the same fate. I heard you're going on a mission, right? Hayashi inquired. Yes, Hayashi-sama. I apologize, but I may not be able to serve you at all times in the future, Ayane bowed apologetically. It's alright. Our Hyuga clan is a part of Konoha too. Don't worry, your team leader, Sakumo Hatake, is an exceptional ninja. It seemed that Hayashi knew something. Did Hayashi-sama discuss this matter with the clan head? Ayane's pure white eyes filled with gentle hues, without any impurities. Hayashi didn't answer. He walked past Ayane, his expression impassive. Ayane glanced at the time, it was almost time to gather. She was about to leave. By the way. Hayashi's voice came from behind. Ayane turned her head, looking at Hayashi with curiosity. Hayashi didn't turn around, he kept his back to Ayane. Take care of yourself. After uttering those words, Hayashi suddenly quickened his pace and disappeared at the end of the corridor. Unlike the indifferent and arrogant clans, Hayashi always harbored a soft heart. Ayane wore a soft smile on her face as if she had heard Hayashi's words, yet it seemed as though she hadn't heard them. Adjusting her forehead protector, her long black hair cascading down, she lingered in the corridor for a moment before raising her footsteps and leaving the Hyuga clan. I don't deserve such treatment, Hayashi-sama. She held these words in her heart. Following the barbecue from the previous day, the team's atmosphere had become relatively harmonious. Sakumo had also gained some understanding of his team members. Chiba Shiraishi, a medical ninja, didn't reveal much about his personality, but overall, he seemed like an ordinary ninja. However, his expertise in medical ninjutsu gave him an edge. Hyuga Iane, hailing from a branch of a prestigious koan, possessed a gentle and considerate nature, occasionally harboring a mischievous side that aligned with her liveliness. Most importantly, she eats a lot. Uchiha Ruri, a prodigy of the Uchiha clan, had skills that, judging from their brief fight the day before, were on par with the average jonin. Notably, she was wealthy. In the eyes of Shiraishi and the others, the ninja Tsukumo Hatake, known as Konoha's White Fang, had a relaxed personality. He wasn't as ruthless as the rumors suggested, and he was also a poor soul who couldn't even afford a barbecue. After all, there was always a significant gap between rumors and reality, and their interactions with Tsukumo had become quite casual. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Tsukumo's team members gathered at the gate of Konoha village. "I just went to Hokage-sama to pick up an A-rank mission. Let's use this opportunity to sharpen our skills." Shiraishi's mouth twitched, knowing that this team was embarking on no ordinary mission. By training with A-rank missions, Shiraishi could get a taste of the grim and uncertain mission career that awaited them in the future. It was likely too late to back out now. "Let's go," Tsukumo declared, noticing that despite the differing expressions on their faces, all three members obediently followed the plan. Shiraishi and the others didn't lag behind, swiftly giving chase as Tsukumo vanished from sight. During long-distance travel, it was crucial to conserve sufficient physical strength. As a result, ninjas don't run at full speed, otherwise, even jonin wouldn't be able to endure it. "Tsukumo-sensei, what is the content of this A-rank mission?" Shiraishi asked, since neither Ruri nor Iane seemed interested in inquiring about it. Tsukumo didn't hold back. "A large-scale battle is taking place on the front line. Our task is to eliminate the hidden enemies in the Land of Fire. They frequently target supply convoys transported from Konoha and destroy towns within the Land of Fire." "Is it that serious?" "In other words." Shiraishi had a vague suspicion. "Ah, you guessed right. An A-rank mission can easily escalate to an S-rank mission at any moment because even the Umbu can't fully track the whereabouts of these hidden enemies. That's why a ninja with the Byakugan is assigned to the team. Our mission is to patrol the Land of Fire and eliminate any enemies within our field of vision. The number of ninjas among the enemy ranks, their ranks as chunin or jonin, remains unknown. That's why Tsukumo mentioned that A-rank missions can quickly become into S-rank missions." "Are we the only team?" Ruri calmly inquired, unperturbed by the mission's nature. "Of course not. There will be an Umbu team cooperating with us." Shiraishi, Iane, and Ruri nodded, feeling somewhat relieved. If an Umbu team is providing support, the mission should become much more manageable. Umbu consists of a total of 70 members, with 2 captains and 2 vice-captains. They serve as the personal guards of the Hokage and generally don't undertake missions directly. Under the leadership of the Commander-in-Chief and Deputy Commander-in-Chief, the Umbu is divided into 4 subunits. Each subunit has a team leader, and each team leader has 4 classes, with each class consisting of 4 Umbu ninjas. In other words, Tsukumo's team will cooperate with 17 Umbu ninjas to eliminate the hidden enemies in the Land of Fire. The journey continued in silence. An hour after leaving the village, Iane activated her Byakugan to scan the surrounding area, detecting any lurking enemies within a 5-kilometer radius. Iane's Byakugan had surpassed its previous capabilities, providing a significant breakthrough. Another hour passed, and Tsukumo, who led the way, signaled for a halt. The 4 of them landed in a clearing and stopped. "Let's rest here for now. Discipline is crucial within a team." As the leader, Tsukumo's commands are followed unquestioningly by Shiraishi and the others. After taking a seat, Tsukumo spoke, "Further ahead lies a dangerous area where we may encounter enemy ninjas lying in ambush at any moment. You 3 have excelled in theory during your schooling, and you should be familiar with the fundamentals of team cooperation. Let's work together." "Are you referring to the 3 rules of medical ninjas?" Shiraishi asked. Tsukumo nodded. The 3 rules of medical ninjas are guidelines set forth by Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin. First rule: no medical ninja shall ever stop medical treatment until the lives of their teammates have come to an end. Second rule: no medical ninja shall ever stand on the front lines. Third rule: no medical ninja shall ever die until they are the last of their team. Therefore, avoiding combat isn't a disgrace for a medical ninja, nor is it shameful to rely on others for protection. In that case, I'll take charge of the vanguard. Ruri and Iane, your priority is to stay by Shiraishi's side at all times. Even if the surroundings appear to be safe, do not prioritize battle. If a situation arises where you have to fight, Ruri, you'll handle the offense, while Iane will focus on protection." "Yes." Understanding and executing are 2 different matters, but Tsukumo can only trust that the three of them will cooperate effectively. After a brief rest, Tsukumo led the team forward. As Tsukumo had mentioned, the further they proceeded, the more dangerous the area became, and battles could erupt at any time and anywhere. At 1 o'clock, approximately 2,300 meters ahead, 7 Suna ninjas are lying in ambush. 2 are concealed underground, 3 are hiding behind trees, and the other 2 are hidden in the grass. Ayane, who had kept her Byakugan active, shared the information she gathered through her vision. "Let's move." Tsukumo's pace quickened abruptly as he sprinted towards the 1 o'clock direction pointed out by Ayane. Under the inside of the Byakugan, all ambushes and hidden positions were exposed, with nowhere to hide. The distance of 2,300 meters wasn't too great, and they reached the enemy's ambush in less than 3 minutes. "Tsukumo-sensei, should we proceed with caution?" Just as Ayane was about to say something, Tsukumo had already disappeared from her sight. Under the Byakugan's detection, all Ayane saw was a flash of sword light, and the chakra signatures of the 5 Suna ninjas vanished instantly, leaving behind lifeless corpses. The remaining 2 fled towards their location, seemingly terrified by Tsukumo's surprise attack. "The 2 targets straight ahead were specially sent by Sensei for us to practice. Let's handle them using fire escape." Ayane sighed. Where the enemy came from, the number of targets, and the best methods to neutralize them were all visible. This wasn't much of a battle. Ruri had already formed the necessary hand seals. 2 large fireballs erupted from her mouth in quick succession. The 2 fleeing enemies had no idea that fireballs would arrive so precisely, catching them off guard and reducing them to ash. Episode 36. Enemy Attack. A week after starting the mission, Shiraishi and his teammates gradually became familiar with the process of a ninja performing mission. Aside from the first wave of enemies encountered at the beginning, only on the 5th day did they encounter a Suna ninja lurking in the land of fire, and there was no more battle. Among the enemies encountered during the period, most of them were Chunin-level Suna ninjas, and encountered only one Jonin. However, after Tsukumo showed his overwhelming strength against the Jonin, Shiraishi and the others had a better understanding of how unfathomable Tsukumo, who is both the captain and their leader, was. Although they have never seen how powerful Sannin, who were praised by the demigod Hanzo who fought them, Tsukumo's strength is fundamentally different from that of ordinary Jonin. If you have to say, the opponent's strength is probably no longer able to be evaluated by the level of Hunin. The missions in the past few days have been completed very well, and you have cooperated very well. Basically, there are no mistakes that newbies often make. It's enough to maintain such a rhythm. After nightfall, the 4 surrounded a fire. The burning fire could not help driving away the surrounding darkness, and also brought a trace of warmth. Because it is still early spring, the air at night brings the cold winter that is not far away. Tsukumo held a grilled fish in his hand, took a water bottle from Shiraishi, and smiled admiringly. Shiraishi is a non-combat medical nin. He was the only one of the 4 who wears a backpack, which contains a sufficient amount of water and food. "Because the enemy was basically resolved by you, Tsukumo-sensei," Ayane said with a smile. The enemies they encountered these 2 times were almost wiped out after one confrontation. Even if there were fish that slipped through the net, they were all junkies like Chunin and Genin. And Ayane was always watching the situation with her Byakugan. Ruri cooperated using fire release for long-range attack, and there was basically no frontal battle, so those fish that slipped through the net were wiped out. "Haha, don't say that, as a rookie, you have already performed very well." Tsukumo knew some common problems of most newcomers. They want to be safe, but also long for meritorious service. They want to be recognized by the people in the village and eventually becomes an excellent ninja respected by everyone. However, this road is not easy, and most ninjas can't make it to the end. A rookie with such an attitude of making meritorious deeds is too easy to die on the battlefield and in missions. Tsukumo has seen those novice ninjas countless times. At the end of the day, the 4 of them were a little tired. But in order to ensure safety, not everyone can rest together, and someone must keep watch. So Tsukumo arranged for Shiraishi and Ayane to stay in the first half of the night, and then he and Ruri stayed in the second half of the night. In this way, once an enemy raids, they won't fall into the embarrassing state of hurriedly attacking. In this regard, the 3 of Shiraishi have no objection. Tsukumo and Ruri quickly fell asleep and needed to get enough sleep to have the energy to continue their mission the next day. Shiraishi and Ayane walked to the other side and sat down. The salsa of the leaves rustling in the breeze made their ears even more quiet. Letting the evening wind blow on his cheeks and hair comfortably, Shiraishi enjoyed the rare silence. As expected of Shiraishi-kun, even in the face of a strong Jonin like Tsukumo-sensei, he can hide such perfection. Ayane walked over at a slow pace, expressing her admiration from the bottom of her heart. Because I am a medical nin, everyone will not pay attention to my strength. Medical ninjas like Tsunade Jounin are a minority, after all. Shiraishi glanced at Aiin and responded with a smile. The biggest impression of medical nins is that they are weak. Except for the use of medical ninjutsu, they basically cannot form effective combat power. This is also during the war. Once the enemy's medical nin is caught, he will not be killed casually. On the one hand, the medical nin has a great role, and on the other hand, the medical nin is too weak to pose a threat. A medical nin like Tsunade, one of the three ninjas, is an example after all. Most medical nins are still like Shiraishi, except for medical ninjutsu, they have no outstanding achievements. In order to ensure the smooth implementation of medical ninjutsu, medical nins must not only have natural talents, but also master a lot of medical knowledge and precise chakra control ability. This is also the main reason why medical nins do not have the ability to fight. Learning endless professional knowledge and constantly training their chakra control has already consumed a lot of time, and there is no time to do the rest. Really? Then you have to be careful. Tsukumo-sensei is not an ordinary ninja. If he finds out, the Hokage will know about it soon. Aiin is very jealous of Tsukumo's strength. The name of Konoha's White Fang, even if they were newbies, it was like thunder. If you want to choose who the strongest jonin in Konoha, then Tsukumo must get the most votes. Although Tsukumo himself doesn't think so, but in the eyes of others, he is well-deserved Konoha's strongest jounin. The jonin who is closest to Hokage. Don't worry, my chakra has always been kept to a minimum. Even if someone with a Byakugan or a sensing ninja, seeing my chakra level, they will just assume I'm just a ninja. Shiraishi had already considered this aspect. Although it's not entirely accurate to judge a ninja's level based on the amount of chakra they possess, that's the general perception in the ninja world. Shiraishi isn't the type of ninja with an excessive amount of chakra. His own chakra reserves aren't abundant, so he must use it sparingly. Hearing what Shiraishi said, Aiin felt relieved. The two of them then fell into silence. Aiin kept a vigilant eye, standing on a branch. She would occasionally turn her head to scan the surroundings, avoiding any potential mistakes. The first half of the night passed without incident. Then it was time for Shiraishi and Aiin to rest, while Tsukumo and Ruri, as the captains, took over the second half of the night watch. And so, the night passed without any noteworthy events. In the morning, the four of them dealt with the traces of their campsite and ate a simple meal of dry rations before continuing their journey through the Land of Fire. They were also accompanied by an Umbu team. If there was a joint operation with the Umbu, they would follow the Umbu's given direction. Otherwise, they had to search for the enemy and eliminate them wherever they found them. In order to ensure the safe transportation of supply lines and the security of towns and cities in the Land of Fire, these sand ninjas who were lurking within the land had to be dealt with. The four of them moved through the forest with ease. The gentle breeze brushed against their ears, the rustling of leaves almost masking their footsteps. The dappled light filtered through the gaps in the leaves above, adding a colorful touch to the otherwise dark forest, making it bright and devoid of gloom. Along the way, the four of them refrained from excessive conversation, conserving their energy. Suddenly, Aiin accelerated and stopped on a branch, simultaneously catching Tsukumo's attention. Tsukumo-sensei. Enemy? Tsukumo placed his hand on the handle of the White Fang, strapped to his back, ready to draw it at a moment's notice. Ruri also adopted a wary stance, gathering chakra in her mouth, preparing her fire ninjutsu. There are 11 ninjas, and 5 of them possess powerful chakra. They're probably jonin, Aiin stated. Jonin? 5 of them? Even Tsukumo furrowed his brows, sensing that something was amiss. Just as Tsukumo was about to inquire further, Aiin solemnly added, there are sensory ninjas within the enemy team, and they're heading in our direction. It seems there's no avoiding a confrontation. Prepare for battle, Tsukumo declared. Since they were lurking within the Land of Fire, the enemy would have sent a specialized sensory ninja, which Tsukumo had anticipated. However, he didn't expect to encounter them so soon. Regardless of whether this soon-hidden army was here to destroy the towns in the Land of Fire or disrupt Konoha supply lines, they had to be stopped. Ain's Byakugan has a range of 5 kilometers, and with a little acceleration, they can cover that distance within minutes. Without any tactical preparation. Under the influence of the Byakugan and sensory ninjutsu, the two sides could only engage in a direct confrontation. A strange sound effect echoed through the slightly dark forest, creating a chilling atmosphere. The sound came closer and closer. The attacker wore a black robe and held a long chakra blade in their hand. Be careful, this is a puppet technique. Aiin warned, as Ruri readied her ninjutsu. Fire release, fireball jutsu. Ruri unleashed a massive fireball with intense heat, hurtling towards the black-robed puppet. As the fireball approached, an unknown number of black shadows emerged in front of them, becoming clear targets. One of the ninjas wearing the Suna hidden forehead protector clapped their hands and pressed them against the ground, a wicked grin forming on their lips. Earth release, earth wall. The earth wall blocked the fireball, resulting in an explosion. Flames and debris filled the air. The black-robed puppet emerged unscathed, with a layer of dust and sparks on its black robe. Powerful chakra surged from beneath the robe and disappeared in an instant. When it reappeared, it had already leaped above Shiraishi and the others. In an ugly and impossible posture, the puppet's body rapidly rotated before landing. Its blade sliced through the air like a spinning wheel, tearing it apart. Clank! White Fang's short sword intercepted the high-speed rotating chakra blade. Simultaneously, two dark cuffs on the black-robed puppet extended, revealing black chains resembling serpents, with blade-like protrusions. They aimed to ensnare Tsukumo. On the other side, 7 ninjas surrounded Shiraishi and the 2 others, smirking down at them. Without exchanging words or engaging in small talk, they drew their ninjutsu and weapons, launching their attacks. As they charged forward, Shiraishi retrieved a smoke bomb from his ninja pouch, detonating it on the ground and enveloping everyone in a cloud of smoke. In the smoke, Ain's Byakugan had unhindered vision, allowing her to clearly observe everyone's movements. She joined her index and middle fingers together, condensing a thin layer of chakra blades on them. With a swift motion, Ain's fingers transformed into sharp knives that pierced directly into the opponent's hearts. Following that, the chakra blades on her fingers turned into small torrents of chakra, ruthlessly slamming into the hearts of the Suna ninjas. When Ain withdrew her fingers, they were covered in a layer of chakra, without any trace of blood. The opponent's eyes bulged with bursting blood vessels, their faces twisted in agony. They experienced unimaginable pain before succumbing to death, falling lifelessly to the ground. Episode 37. Tactics. Be careful, this kid is no ordinary opponent. The dissipating smokescreen revealed Ruri's Sharingan and Ain's Byakugan. As the only 2 Jujutsu Kekkai Genkai clans in Konoha, Uchiha and Hyuga have caused great suffering to ninjas from various villages in previous ninja wars. Sharingan even earned the reputation of being someone you must flee from in one-on-one battles. In a solo encounter with Sharingan, the chances of winning were close to 0. After Ruri and Ain revealed their Kekkai Genkai, the besieging ninjas were concerned. The first ninja who attacked Ain was just a Chunin, easily dispatched by Ain's Byakugan within the smoke. Under her watchful gaze, he couldn't execute any hidden moves. Moreover, Ruri's Sharingan was fixated on him. As for Shiraishi, the humble medical ninja, they simply disregarded him. He was just a medical ninja. As long as they defeated the main force of the enemy, in their eyes, Shiraishi was no different from a lamb to be slaughtered. In that case, let's separate the 3 of them. A ninja wearing a Sunagekyu's forehead protector stared intently, gathering a significant amount of visible chakra in their hands, before slamming them onto the ground. Earth release, split earth palm. Boom. The countenances of the 3 of them changed. The ground began to crack inch by inch, akin to an earthquake, with a large radius. It was too late to devise countermeasures. The surrounding soil and rock sank and cracked, forcing the 3 of them to infuse chakra into their feet, propelling themselves to soar away from the tremendous seismic force. Observing Shiraishi and the others grow disoriented due to the shattered earth, the remaining ninjas leaped up once more, their eyes brimming with murderous intent. This guy. Ruri's gaze fixed upon the Suna ninja who used the earth release. Their remarkably skilled earth-based jutsus, immense power, and battlefield manipulation resembled the style of the Iwagakure rather than the Sunagakure. The scarlet, Tsutomu Sharingan began to spin. When the enemy launched their attack, Ruri didn't retreat. Instead, she chose to confront the enemy head-on. Regarding the Suna ninjas they were facing, Ruri considered them as members of the Suna since they wore the Sandgaker's forehead protectors. Although Ruri harbored doubts about the identity of the Suna hidden army. Of course, it wouldn't be entirely accurate to dismiss the existence of the Suna hidden army, but there must be unidentified ninjas mingling within their ranks. This ninja who confronted Ruri exuded immense confidence. Experienced ninjas from the village had warned them that if they encountered a ninja with Sharingan, they needed to avoid direct eye contact, or else they would fall victim to illusions. Even though it was easy for the enemy to avoid their gaze, as a special jonin, all they needed to do was intercept the opponent and allow the others to flank them, guaranteeing victory. Thinking along those lines, the Suna nin used kunai to deflect Ruri's kunai. However, the tremendous force that surged into their arm turned their face pale. They even hallucinated the sound of bones crunching. For a moment, their body froze, and instinctively, they raised their head, directly meeting a pair of scarlet eyes. In an instant, their consciousness fell into chaos, their gaze becoming dull. Ruri wiped the blood off her kunai. As the blood spilled, she disappeared from their position with the body flicker technique, rushing towards the next target with seamless speed. Meanwhile, Shiraishi, observing Ruri and Ayane's impressive prowess, remained unfazed, without displaying any surprise. Although the enemy's strength was formidable, the renowned Sharingan and Byakugan wielders in the ninja world had gathered here. At the very least, they wouldn't be defeated easily. After all, some of the strongest ninjas in this unit were focused on containing Sakumo, or rather, keeping him occupied. The enemy's strategy likely involved restraining Sakumo, while the remaining combatants dealt with Shiraishi and the others as swiftly as possible. Afterward, they would regroup and besiege Sakumo, the esteemed white fang of Konoha. This way, Konoha's morale would suffer a significant blow. However, they underestimated Sakumo's strength, and their more serious mistake was underestimating the formidable combat abilities of Ruri and Ayane. Ayane, in particular, may fall slightly short of being on par with Jonin, while Ruri's overall abilities have already reached Jonin level. With the deterrent power of Sharingan, it would require at least 2 Sharingan users to exert a suppressing force against them. Just as Shiraishi was considering hiding behind a large tree, the ground beneath his feet suddenly cracked open, and something was about to emerge. Earth release, earth-splitting decapitation. Pfft. The enemy's ninjutsu release was interrupted. A kunai had been thrust into the solid soil. Shiraishi maintained his crouched position on the ground, his gaze calm. Don't suddenly pop up and startle me. The ninja hidden in the ground had met their untimely demise. Gently pulling out the kunai, Shiraishi played with the soil, stabbed the kunai back in, plugged the hole mixed with blood, and slowly smoothed over the crack. He did so without haste or urgency, as if nothing had happened in that spot. Afterwards, Shiraishi proceeded to retrieve a smoke bomb from his ninja pouch. He tossed it towards Ayane. The smoke bomb exploded, emitting a dense cloud of white smoke that enveloped the area. With their vision obscured by the smoke screen, the enemy sought to withdraw. Another smoke bomb was thrown, expanding the area covered by smoke. For Ayane, this was the perfect battleground. While the enemy could use earth release to divide the battlefield, Shiraishi could counter with smoke bombs, creating an exclusive environment that favored Ayane's Byakugan. Not only that, Ruri was also affected by the smoke. However, having previously fought alongside Shiraishi with closed eyes in training exercises, Ruri simply needed to imagine herself fighting with closed eyes and recall the rhythm of the game she played without her eyesight. In this manner, those Sunin ninjas must have been frustrated with Shiraishi, the seemingly weak and retreating medical ninja who kept throwing smoke bombs. Shiraishi pondered upon seeing how a small smoke bomb could have such a significant impact. It appeared that a specialized smoke bomb needed to be created, one that would cause the smoke to linger for a longer duration and spread more widely. During battle, Shiraishi would then be responsible for providing medical support and tossing smoke bombs. If this tactic proved effective, it would be a unique and innovative strategy developed by their Sakumo team. Damn it. Get rid of that kid who keeps throwing the smoke bombs first. The blinding environment had become unbearable for one of the hidden Sanjonin, who roared in frustration, almost on the verge of losing their composure. They were not accustomed to fighting in smoke, and engaging the enemy with closed eyes was nothing short of a death wish. But if they were to open their eyes, their field of vision would be severely limited, while the enemy seemed to possess intimate knowledge of their every move. Such a predicament was incredibly infuriating. Despite having a stronger lineup than their opponents, the battle situation had swiftly turned against them due to Shiraishi's sporadic smoke bomb attacks. Furthermore, if they wanted to deal with Shiraishi, they would have to contend with the combined forces of Ruri and Ayane. Simultaneously, a sense of bewilderment arose. Weren't their ninjas skilled in earth release? Why hadn't they made a move yet? Did it truly take so long to handle a medical ninja with only genin level strength? Episode 38. Speculation. Thousands of poison needles rained down from the sky like scattered flowers. Sakumo held his white fang, a precious chakra sword capable of channeling chakra. With this sharp weapon in hand, he seamlessly combined his kenjutsu, causing invisible white sword lights to intercept every single needle. Not one managed to breach Sakumo's defensive circle. He was engaged in battle with 2 adept puppet manipulators from the Suna village. A man and a woman, slightly older than him, likely a married couple. Their synchronization and coordinated attacks were remarkable. If it weren't for Sakumo's presence, any ordinary jonin would have been overwhelmed by the relentless barrage and fallen. Even though he successfully blocked the multitude of poison projectiles launched by the 2 using their puppets, Sakumo couldn't afford to be careless. Coating the puppets' hidden weapons with poison was a common assassination technique employed by puppeteer ninjas from Suna village. Accidental contact with the skin could lead to the spread of poison through the wound and into the flesh, resulting in a highly troublesome situation. Fighting against these puppet masters left no room for error. However, over the years, Tsukumo had gained experience in battling puppet masters through numerous S-rank missions. Even though the two opposing puppet masters had superior puppetry skills compared to those he had encountered before, their weaknesses were equally evident. Controlling a puppet required chakra, and puppet masters themselves were generally physically weak. Disrupting their chakra flow would only temporarily hinder their puppet control. They would quickly regain control by re-establishing their chakra connection and resume the battle. Therefore, instead of severing their chakra flow, the best tactic was to bypass the puppets altogether and directly target the puppet masters. But how could he bypass them? The Suna ninja, the man and the woman, constantly switched positions and executed dazzling techniques. The puppets they manipulated remained hidden beneath their dark robes, making it impossible to discern the mechanism behind their projectile attacks. This disrupted Tsukumo's ability to analyze the situation. Moreover, the opponents seemed well aware of his strengths, avoiding close combat and keeping a safe distance from him at all times. This left Tsukumo feeling extremely challenged. His enemies possessed an abundance of combat skills. Among the puppet forces of Suna, they were undoubtedly significant figures. Let's give it a try. Delaying any further was not an option. The flawless coordination between the two puppet masters was becoming increasingly worrisome. With time passing, Tsukumo grew more concerned about Shiraishi's situation. Infusing chakra into white fang in his hand, a radiant white light emanated from the blade, appearing as if it had been bathed in the moon's gentle glow. The sword stood out conspicuously in the dim forest. Unable to identify any weaknesses in his opponents, Tsukumo had no choice but to forcefully break through and create an opportunity. Drawing the puppet back, the male ninja retreated, while the female ninja beside him followed suit. Though they didn't exchange words, they silently manipulated their puppets, yet they both understood the other's intentions. Witnessing the white light emitted by the white fang, they knew what Tsukumo intended to do. They couldn't allow him the opportunity. Cutting through the rainstorm of projectiles, Tsukumo's figure became nearly invisible, only the faint white light streaking through the air as he sliced through every incoming projectile. He pressed forward without deviation. The two puppets, clad in black robes, positioned themselves alternately in front of Tsukumo, appearing like elusive phantoms. A clean cut sliced through the black robe, revealing the wooden puppet body beneath. What? Tsukumo vanished from their sight. The gleam in the man and woman's eyes sharpened. The male ninja shoved the female ninja aside and, from shoulder to chest, received a deep gash from Tsukumo's blade, blood pouring forth. Tsukumo's eyes widened in surprise. He had anticipated attacking the woman, but he hadn't expected the man to effortlessly push her away. However, he only experienced a brief moment of astonishment. Without hesitation, he pressed on with a second swing of his sword. This time, the puppet that the male ninja swiftly pulled over from a nearby location intercepted the fatal blow on his behalf. This guy. Tsukumo's gaze grew solemn. Knowing that he couldn't avoid the initial strike, the male ninja didn't attempt to dodge at all. Instead, he effortlessly pushed the female ninja aside and pulled the puppet into position. Just as Tsukumo swung his sword for the second strike, the puppet skillfully moved to block the attack, shielding its master. The unwavering composure in the face of life and death, maintaining absolute calmness, presented a formidable challenge for Tsukumo. Boom! A smoke bomb detonated, temporarily obscuring Tsukumo's vision. In the next moment, countless Senbon and kunai were hurled from the other end of the smoke, leaving Tsukumo no choice but to defend himself with his white-toothed dagger. As Tsukumo rushed forward, the man and woman had already vanished from sight. Sorry, but if we meet again in the future, they are likely to see through my previous tactics, Tsukumo muttered, looking at the deserted forest before him. Choosing not to pursue the man and woman, Tsukumo hurriedly returned to the battlefield where Shiraishi and the others were engaged in combat. Upon arrival, he found that the battle had already concluded. It seemed that, based on the retreat signal of the man and woman, the ninjas who had fought against Shiraishi and the others were also retreating. From a distance, Tsukumo could barely make out their fading figures. Should he give chase? As this thought crossed Tsukumo's mind, he noticed Ayane and Ruri sitting tiredly against a tree, receiving Shiraishi's healing technique to restore their stamina and chakra. Seeing this, Tsukumo had no choice but to abandon the idea. Dealing with so many ninjas alone would be overly ambitious. Engaging the Suna duo had already depleted his physical strength and chakra. It was time to focus on resting. Shiraishi, how are their injuries? Tsukumo asked, fatigue evident on his face as he approached. Engaging those two Suna nins had kept him on high alert, wary of any scratches from their poisoned hidden weapons. It's nothing major, just superficial wounds. However, their chakra levels are a bit depleted, Shiraishi replied. Ruri and Ayane were in the process of replenishing their stamina and chakra, leaving no time for a response. That's good. Sakumo nodded, a smile forming on his face. You all performed better than I anticipated. Even when faced with 3 chunin and several jonin, you managed to hold your ground. It exceeded my expectations. That's because you, Sakumo-sensei, you were keeping the 2 strongest puppet masters occupied, Ayane remarked. With her Byakugan, she could clearly see the rain of kunai falling like a torrential downpour. Even with her Byakugan, she felt a tingling sensation on her scalp. Escaping unscathed from such an onslaught was impossible for Sakumo. As the saying goes, the most lethal abilities often appear ordinary. Puppet masters exemplify this notion. A mere scratch or a momentary lapse in concentration could result in being impaled by countless hidden weapons. This is why the Suna puppet army has been a formidable challenge for many ninjas. Don't say that. Given your age, you'll surely surpass me in the future. I believe in your potential. Until that day comes, I, as your captain and part-time teacher, will do everything in my power to keep you safe. With Sakumo-sensei vouching for us, I feel much safer. But the current situation doesn't look promising. How could such a formidable elite force infiltrate our country? Ayane furrowed her brow, bewildered. Instead of that, shouldn't we be contemplating why Suna's troops include ninjas skilled in earth jutsus? The consequences of this issue are more severe, don't you think? Shiraishi interjected. At the mention of this, the expressions of the other 3 individuals changed slightly. It's true. The kind of power exhibited by those who can perform earth jutsu is not something ordinary ninjas possess. It wasn't indicated in the information we received. As direct troops of the Hokage, what is Umbu doing? Ruri voiced her dissatisfaction with Umbu's inaction. Sakumo stood there, feeling somewhat embarrassed. While he, too, questioned Umbu's recent performance, they were an elite unit directly under the Hokage. It was possible that he was simply being negligent and hadn't noticed any issues. Umbu's actions usually held great weight. Perhaps we are overthinking things, and there are occasionally ninjas proficient in earth jutsus, Sakumo offered, though Shiraishi and the others found it difficult to believe. Their nerves were on edge, given the current circumstances. With Suna launching an all-out attack on Konoha, would IWA, who had previously remained neutral, truly miss such a golden opportunity to plunder the Land of Fire? Perhaps Iwagakure hadn't initially intended to join the war, but now the situation seemed uncertain. Episode 39. Consideration. Konoha, Year 36, June. The forest's climate grew hot and oppressive. It had been 3 months since Shiraishi left the village on his mission. During that time, he encountered a total of 11 waves of enemies. Aside from the initial encounter with 5 jonin, Suna troops he faced afterward proved to be weak in combat. Sometimes, Sakumo didn't even need to intervene as a jonin. He could simply stand back while Shiraishi and the others effortlessly wiped out enemies, outnumbering them several times over. With each battle, Shiraishi and his team gained more experience and improved their cooperation. To develop new tactics, Shiraishi gathered materials from the environment to make smoke bombs. Fortunately, he had some basic tools sealed within a scroll. During his rest periods, Shiraishi would take them out and create smoke bombs. Sakumo was no stranger to this. While Ruri and Ayane focused on building their strength, Shiraishi stood out as the one with the greatest knowledge and flexibility of mind among the 3. Sakumo appreciated Shiraishi's calm and methodical approach to studying and self-improvement during the war. Thus, Sakumo proposed a special training for Shiraishi. He would teach Shiraishi kenjutsu. Although he couldn't assist Shiraishi in the field of medical ninjutsu and research, as a jonin skilled in kenjutsu, Sakumo believed he could impart kenjutsu to Shiraishi, enabling him to defend himself effectively. By doing so, the overall combat effectiveness of the team, with Ruri and Ayane included, would greatly increase. Shiraishi was surprised when Sakumo proposed the special training, but he didn't refuse. During his free time, he practiced swordsmanship with Sakumo. His weapon of choice was a standard ninja sword, slightly longer than the white fang. However, when it came to chakra conduction, it paled in comparison. Ordinary weapons couldn't undergo changes in their chakra properties like the sophisticated white fan could, making them more vulnerable and prone to breaking. On a hot afternoon, with the sun bearing down on them, Ruri and Ayane approached Shiraishi, holding fresh clothes. Just a reminder, please don't come to peek while we bathe, Ruri said, emphasizing the need for privacy. Shiraishi assured them, don't worry, you can go ahead. Even if I die, I'll prevent Sakumo-sensei. I'm referring to you, not Sakumo-sensei. No matter how foolish he may be, Shiraishi would never dare to peek at a 12-year-old girl bathing. Ruri's watchful eyes pained him. It wouldn't matter if Shiraishi-kun were to peek. If he does, I'll ensure he's no longer a man, Aine said with a soft smile, hinting at something deeper. Though her words sounded gentle like a spring breeze, they sent shivers down one's spine. Watching Ruri and Aine walk away, Shiraishi sighed and said, honestly, it's only bathing, not a camping trip. We have no other choice. These past few months have been filled with battles or constant movement. It's better to let them relax. Besides, we're closer to a guard post in Konoha, making it safer than the other areas, Sakumo added. Shiraishi had no choice but to agree with Sakumo's reasoning. In the dense forest, a gentle breeze mixed with an irritating warmth blew through. Under these circumstances, Shiraishi sought solace in taking a peaceful nap in the shade of a tree. Do we still have no clarity on the situation at the front lines? Shiraishi asked as he sat beneath the tree, sipping water from a cup. Well, Orochimaru and the others are there, but they're up against Tsuna's Kazekage himself. It won't be an easy victory, Sakumo replied, settling down beside Shiraishi. While the overall quality of Konoha's ninjas on the front lines may be superior to that of Tsuna forces, the absence of decisive and powerful ninjas on par with the contemporary 5 Kage contributed to the stalemate. In such a situation, if Hokage-sama were to appear, perhaps they could single-handedly turn the tide of battle, Shiraishi suggested. Shaking his head at Shiraishi's idea, Sakumo responded, Konoha is different from the other 4 ninja villages. The Land of Fire is located in the middle of the continent, surrounded by 4 major powers. There are numerous factors to consider. If the Hokage were to personally rush to the battlefield, it would be an act of last resort. It's no easy task being a Hokage. Yeah, that's the life of a Hokage. Sakumo-sensei, have you ever thought about becoming a Hokage? Shiraishi suddenly asked, hoping to engage in an interesting conversation to pass the time. With nothing else to do, discussing such topics would help kill time. Sakumo chuckled wryly and replied, no, not for me. I wouldn't survive as Hokage, I don't understand politics at all. That's not entirely true. Sakumo-sensei could be the voice conveying the Hokage's message, even louder than the Sannin, Shiraishi remarked. Having said that, the Hokage is still formidable. But becoming Hokage is something I've never seriously considered, Shiraishi said, nodding in understanding. The reputation of the 3rd Hokage in Konoha village is indeed excellent. According to Ruri, even the Uchiha clan has a harmonious relationship with the 3rd Hokage and they engage in prosperous business transactions. But, how long can this kind of compassion and courage last? The current 3rd Hokage is 46 years old. If he remained in the position of Hokage for another 10 years, he will reach the age of retirement and make way for the next generation. As people grow older, their concerns multiply. The ambitions they held in their youth become more challenging to pursue as they age. The Uchiha clan holds more power than the Hokage's direct subordinates, the Umbu. This is not only a testament to the trust placed in the Uchiha clan but also an expression of caution and counsel. Currently, the 3rd Hokage was not concerned because their strength is formidable and their influence is significant. Even if any issues arise with the Uchiha clan, they are confident in their ability to resolve them, even by force. However, this confidence cannot last indefinitely. Therefore, selecting a new Hokage within the next 10 years to assume the role of the 3rd Hokage is the true path for Konoha to become a strong village. At that time, Sakumo would be in his 30s, the prime age for a ninja. It is estimated that his strength at that time would surpass his current capabilities. With his reputation, strength, loyalty, and character, even if Sakumo himself doesn't aspire to become Hokage, everyone will make every effort to persuade him to take up the position. Regardless, if Sakumo-sensei were to contend for the position of Hokage, it would undoubtedly bring a fresh perspective to the village. You know, I'm not interested in becoming Hokage anymore. I believe my life is good as it is now. If I were to become Hokage, I wouldn't have the same freedom to go on missions and fight alongside my fellow villagers. What a shame. Shiraishi sighed. I'll go find something to eat. There's not enough food in the backpack. I'll leave the task of looking after those 2 to you. Understood. Shiraishi watched Sakumo's retreating back for a while, before withdrawing his gaze. Episode 40. Hokage. Ah, taking a bath feels so refreshing, Aine said as she walked over from the other side of the woods, her long hair still wet and her skin slightly flushed from the lingering water vapor. Following behind her was the silent Ruri. Shiraishi glanced at the 2 of them, swiftly retrieved a kunai from his ninja pouch, and said to Aine and Ruri, before you approach, state your secret code. Secret code? Aine was taken aback. Meanwhile, Ruri, with a blank expression on her face, began to perform seals, gathering chakra in her mouth, before spitting it out. Fire release, fireball jutsu. A massive fireball surged towards Shiraishi head-on. Reacting swiftly, Shiraishi evaded the fireball's attack by moving to the side. As he glanced at the burnt trees left behind by the fireball, he felt a cold sweat forming on his face. Ruri smiled mischievously, seemingly ready to release a second fireball. Shiraishi stood up, the corners of his mouth twitching. Yes, that's enough. It was just a joke. Why not simply call out fire release directly? It's more convincing this way, don't you think? Ruri confidently replied. Yeah, it's definitely more convincing than a simple password. Shiraishi sighed and rubbed his sore buttocks. Shiraishi-kun, you really had me fooled. I thought we actually had a secret code, Ain remarked as she walked closer. Just as Shiraishi was about to say something, Ruri scanned their surroundings, unable to spot Sakumo anywhere. She then asked, "Where is Sakumo-sensei?" He went to gather supplies. There isn't much food left in the backpack, so he's planning to restock tomorrow at the sentry, Shiraishi replied while taking out his backpack. I'm craving Ichiraka ramen. We've been eating dry rations and dry meat for so long, I almost forgot what ramen tastes like, Ain complained, rubbing her belly as she sat down on a stone. Just be patient. Things will get better once the war is over, Shiraishi reassured. During these days, the food Shiraishi and the others consumed consisted mainly of cold provisions. Only when food supplies were scarce did they rely on local resources, such as fish from rivers or wild vegetables and mushrooms from the forest, to satisfy their hunger. Shiraishi-kun, didn't you invent a portable food? Ain asked. It is a possibility, but ramen is a different story, Shiraishi replied, shaking his head and dismissing Ain's request. Alright, just make sure to eat more when we restock at the sentry tomorrow. By the way, did you and Sakumo-sensei find anything here earlier? Ruri asked, carefully observing their surroundings and maintaining a high level of vigilance. No, Sakumo-sensei and I were just discussing the future Hokage, Shiraishi replied truthfully. Nay, Shiraishi-kun, are you interested in that kind of thing? Ain asked curiously. Shiraishi glanced at Ain. Because Sakumo-sensei is the closest jonin to the position of Hokage. In another 10 years, when the third Hokage is older, Sakumo-sensei will be the most favored candidate for the Hokage position. Even the Sannin would be at a disadvantage. He's well deserving of the title. Shiraishi analyzed the situation objectively. Neither Ruri nor Ain refuted Shiraishi's opinion. Indeed, Konoha greatly values Sakumo and considers him the most suitable candidate for Hokage. The Sannin fall slightly behind in comparison. A village is like a country. To advance politically, one needs more than just the support of the common people. Sakumo-sensei lacks the support of the ninja population, and his character is not suited for Hokage. Fame can be a double-edged sword. It's not only a capital for promotion, but also. Ruri paused, leaning against a tree and clasping her hands in front of her chest, wearing a serious expression. However, she chose not to continue her thought. As a seed-type ninja trained by a prominent family, Ruri is not oblivious to politics, but she has no interest in that aspect at all. While Sakumo possesses prestige, strength, and character, the support of the civilians alone is insufficient to become Hokage. In Ruri's eyes, so-called civilian ninjas lack a united front. Their factions are complex, and their interests are too scattered. Without someone to bring them together, these individuals will never pose a significant threat. On the other hand, most ninjas have already formed a community of shared interests. They know what they want to achieve, what they're willing to sacrifice, and what they're striving for. Listen, the so-called Hokage, it's just a tedious game of power rotation at the top, and it has little to do with the average person, Ruri remarked. Upon hearing Ruri's words, Ain seemed slightly concerned. Well, Ruri, isn't it a bit harsh to say that? I believe the position of Hokage should be recognized by the entire village. Are you daft? Without this perspective, the reputation of Hokage would have long decayed within the village. You're from a renowned ninja clan too. Don't you stand high enough and possess enough insight to see the essence of Hokage? As for me, as long as I have the power and the ambition, the position of Hokage is within my reach. Sakumo-sensei lacks that ambition, so he's an exceptional Konoha jonin, but not the one who should become Hokage, Ruri confidently stated, wearing a smile that suggested she never questioned her own opinion. Ain pouted, feeling a little indignant. Alright, you too. Choosing the next Hokage is still a long way off. For now, the most important thing is to complete the tasks we've been assigned, Shiraishi intervened, acting as a peacemaker. Shiraishi had long understood Ruri's temperament. She didn't hold much reverence or awe for the position of Hokage. Her respect was reserved for the powerful ninja known as the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, rather than for the concept of Hokage itself. As long as they adhered to this perspective, Ruri's mindset was actually straightforward and easy to understand. After a while, Sakumo returned from hunting with 2 hares and some fish. This would serve as their dinner for the evening. Before that, they needed to find a safe place to hide within the vast hunting grounds of the forest. The next day, they arrived at the nearest sentinel. The area had suffered significant damage, with numerous buildings collapsed and more than a dozen Konoha ninjas lying in ruins, bleeding profusely. Sakumo's team and a small Umbu squad had also arrived at the scene. The Umbu squad consisted of a squad leader, a special jonin, and 2 chunin. Shiraishi was doing his best to save a severely injured Konoha ninja, whose chest had been torn apart by an explosive tag. Despite being on the brink of death, the ninja's strong will to survive kept him alive. With the sentinel building completely destroyed, Shiraishi had to provide first aid outside, but he wasn't confident about the chances of survival. They had arrived too late for surgical intervention. Whether the injured ninja would survive or not was left to fate. Sakumo and the others didn't disturb Shiraishi's work and began searching for other clues amidst the ruins. It was a large-scale earth-release ninjutsu. The enemy directly collapsed the sentinel building and launched a surprise attack, leaving the people here with no time to defend. The initial encounter resulted in near complete annihilation of our forces, explained the Umbu squad leader, after conducting a professional assessment. So, 1 jonin, 6 chunin, and 11 genin couldn't even put up a fight? Sakumo's expression turned serious. It's highly likely that it was the special hidden Suna unit your team encountered over 2 months ago, the Umbu replied. Have you confirmed their identities? Sakumo inquired. The male and female leaders are the son and daughter-in-law of Suna's advisor, Chio. They are highly skilled puppet masters and belong to the elite puppet army of Suna. As for the Earth-release ninja who effortlessly divided the battlefield, we have no information on their identity yet, the Umbu squad leader reported. Sakumo nodded in response. At that moment, Ayin approached Sakumo and reported, Sakumo-sensei, some of the supplies at the sentinel post were taken, and the rest were burned. What should we do next? We'll proceed to other sentinels. Also, can you send another Umbu unit here? Sakumo turned to the Umbu squad leader. It's not possible. 2 Umbu teams are always stationed in the village. The other team is assisting in covert operations on the front line and gathering intelligence. Currently, we are the only team available. Even with the support of the police force, the village's defense has weakened significantly, the Umbu squad leader explained. Regardless, I hope we can send more people, preferably tracking experts. I understand that everyone in the village is on edge, but now is not the time to worry about that, Sakumo expressed. Understood. I will report to Hokage-sama. Whether or not more personnel will be dispatched depends on his decision, the Umbu replied. Please do. With that, the Umbu gestured, and the other 3 Umbu members nodded in understanding before using the body flicker technique to leave the area. Is it possible, Sakumo-sensei? Ayin asked. Sakumo shook his head, unsure if more personnel would be sent from the village for the investigation. Relying solely on Ayin's eyesight, their scope of investigation was still limited. The enemy forces had skilled sensory ninjas and were proficient in counter-reconnaissance tactics. They deliberately targeted weakly defended sentinels to launch their raids, causing chaos within the Land of Fire. Over time, this would exert immense pressure on the Konoha ninjas at the front line. However, the Land of Fire was vast, and the whereabouts of the hidden sand troops were unpredictable, lacking any discernible pattern, making the search difficult. Meanwhile, Shiraishi had finished the operation and was dressing the wounded ninja's external wounds. Shiraishi, how is he? Will he regain consciousness? Sakumo asked. It depends on his will to survive. That's beyond my control, Shiraishi replied, putting away the medical kit and returning it to his backpack. Sakumo patted Shiraishi on the shoulder. You've done all you can. Medical ninjas aren't gods. Shiraishi didn't intend to respond to Sakumo's attempt at comfort.